Hunting Heroes by Jansen Davies. Chapter 1. The Silence After War. The bright white sun had long ceased to rise in glory on Darius Prime. It now climbed through ash-colored skies, worn and wordless, casting multispectral light over the ruins of a species at peace, not victorious. Peace was simply all that was left. High Chancellor Magella stood atop the Grand Citadel's eastern tower, her cloak pulled close against the chilled wind. Below her, the Plaza of Reflections sprawled in solemn geometry, dotted with statues of men frozen mid-motion. Soldiers, scholars, artists, fathers, each carved from the native dark crystal that once adorned the weapons, now sealed forever in the war vault. She was the last chancellor elected by male and female alike. That memory would die with her. "There will be no new names," she said quietly to the wind, "only the memory of what was." Inside the citadel, councillors murmured through gilded halls, voices low with the weight of history. The chamber doors opened and Magella entered with slow precision, her boots echoing over polished stone. The great table shimmered, an interactive map of Darius, blinking slowly in grave silence. On the screen, a single figure rotated, the blood profile of the last male, Lord Waddock, who passed 4 cycles ago from collapse of neural degradation. War had bred strength, but not immortality. "Our species fails," said Councillor Laura, gesturing to the projection, "unless we do what no surviving culture has done, hunt for males outside our stars." A long pause. "You mean abduct suitable alien males?" Magella asked. "Recruit," Laura corrected. "Entice. Select only the best. Heroes. The bloodlines must be reforged, not diluted." Magella thought of her brother, blade in one hand, violin in the other. Heroism was not strength. It was sacrifice. That ideal must be preserved. The vote passed unanimously with no dissent. The choosing ceremony took place under the vaulted sky of the Temple of Resolve. 5 huntresses stood among the murmuring crowd, their faces veiled but proud. Each had been selected not for loyalty, but for independent strength. And without saying it aloud, they were all extremely beautiful by Earth standards. Negotiator Tress had once silenced an entire battalion with words alone. Her calm masked an inner fire. Janna of the Free Reaches brokered the ceasefire that ended the 1,000-year war. Solene, youngest of the 5, was born mid-siege and raised beneath fractured moonlight. Prita had lost both siblings in the final riot. Her silence carried scars. Vexi walked with a mechanical leg, gifted by a fallen male medic, and had never spoken of him. They each pledged the sacred oath, not to dominate, but to seek, not to take, but to inspire, not to procreate a species, but to resurrect a legacy. Above them, the stars opened. Chapter 2. The Covenant. The Temple of Resolve lay carved into the northern cliffs of Darius Prime, its architecture a tapestry of contradiction. Its harsh granite walls were softened by glimmers of bioluminescent vines. It was a place once reserved for war councils. Now it held only whispers of survival. The wind howled as 5 figures approached the ceremonial basin. Their cloaks dragged lines in the fine ash carpeting the temple floor, a ghostly reminder of the world's final war. Tress walked first. She carried herself like steel wrapped in silk. Her gaze flicked toward the horizon, where thunder once roared, but now lay silent. "Peace is not my natural state," she muttered, "but I will wear it if it means we live." Janna followed, holding a data crystal tight to her chest. The Treaty of Brynden Reach was encoded within. The digital artifact had cost her half her core faction and her lover's life. She kissed the crystal before setting it into the flame. "Diplomacy failed us," she said. "Let beauty succeed where logic could not." Preeta moved slowly to her designated location, the weight of the upcoming mission bearing heavily on her ethics. Vexi limped forward, her mechanical leg clicking against stone. Her memory seethed with pain, an operating table, a male surgeon working under enemy fire, saving her life. She'd never seen him again. She'd never forgotten. Solene arrived last, eyes wide but not naive. Born during a siege, she had never known love as mythology, only as rebellion. "We've read the stories," she said softly. "Now we must write our own." They encircled the ceremonial fire. Magella stepped forth, holding the Codex of Bloodlines, a living document tarnished with genetic decay. Its pages once catalogued the families and every branch of their species. Now most lines flickered, fading into void. "Sisters, you will go to Earth," Magella said, voice unwavering. "Seek 5, not the strongest, not the most famous. Seek those who saved and sacrificed when no one watched." The fire flared violet. Each huntress placed her hand into the flame, feeling only warmth. The ritual would bind them, not just to their mission but to each other, and ultimately to the gravity of failure. "Not to dominate," they whispered in unison, "but to seek. Not to take, but to inspire." The flame dimmed. Above the temple, within a projection of a distant solar system, one planet shone brighter than the rest. Earth. Chapter 3. Descent. The spacecraft sliced through the exosphere like a ghost, invisible to human eyes. Cloaked in light-dampening tech and dust from Darius's moons, it approached Earth with surgical precision. No alarms, no announcement, only intention. Inside the vessel's control chamber, the 5 huntresses sat silent, observing Earth's blue curvature through translucent panels. Cities bustled below in rhythmic grids, alive with civilization unaware of what approached. Tress folded her arms, watching the patterns of freeways cut through block buildings and concrete spaces. "Their chaos is ordered," she said, "a contradiction I respect." Jana adjusted her internal translator and ran a scan across several Earth languages. "Modern English will do," she noted, "but context will be defined by the mission." Solene tapped the interface and pulled up dossiers. Earth's archives had proven surprisingly porous, accessible with enough quantum finesse. Their 5 targets had been chosen carefully, men of impact, survivors of trauma, embodiments of courage under duress. Captain Rafe Callan, F-22 pilot who refused to bail out and crashed his shot-up aircraft into the ocean to avoid a heavily populated city. Dr. Edward Monroe, trauma surgeon who entered a plague-infested village to treat dozens of dying victims. Detective Timothy Wells, who took 2 bullets saving a bus full of children during a hostage crisis. Staff Sergeant Philip Anders, lone survivor of a failed extraction who carried 2 injured comrades across 5 miles of hostile enemy territory. Fire Chief John Vega, who re-entered a burning convalescent home multiple times to rescue bedridden elderly patients. Each lived in a different part of the country, each unaware that the galaxy now had its eyes on them. The ship landed outside San Diego in the early dawn, deep within a coastal thicket obscured by fog and ocean wind. A shimmer of light briefly distorted the surrounding hills, then faded. The huntresses emerged in civilian attire tailored to blend. Their genetic makeup had been modified subtly, skin tones adjusted, accents blended, retinal patterns masked. Preeta walked forward first, boots crunching over damp leaves. "This planet smells like the color green," she said, "and pent-up tension. Their peace is restless." They moved through their surroundings without a sound, sinking communication implants behind their right ears and separating toward their targets. Each had studied Earth's history, sociology, linguistics, and emotional nuances, but none had truly felt Earth until now. Vexy lingered a moment before departure, her mechanical leg brushing against mossy bark. She stared up at the sky. "Let the mission guide us," she murmured, "but not control us." One by one, they vanished into the world. Chapter 4. Surveillance. Los Angeles shimmered beneath sunset haze as Jana watched from a rooftop cafe, the scent of roasted espresso mixing with car exhaust and human inhabitation. Her target, Dr. Edward Monroe, stood at the intersection below. His sandy blonde hair was carelessly tousled, and his broad shoulders were heavy with exhaustion. He had just left a double shift at the trauma ward. His hands had stitched open wounds and set broken bones, but his eyes carried guilt for the ones he couldn't heal. She tracked him for days now, not just out of strategy, but also fascination. Tonight, she would approach. In Austin, Texas, Tress followed Sergeant Philip Anders from the Veterans Outreach Center. He helped with job placements, mentoring, rebuilding confidence. He never spoke of his missions, his medals, or the ones he couldn't save. His battle scars barely showed, but his eyes betrayed sleepless nights. Tress had watched men fail, but this one refused to. She brushed past him at a food truck, dropping her keys. "Sorry," she smiled, making eye contact. "Reflexes not what they used to be." As he bent to pick up the keys, he returned her smile. "Reflexes of a cat, I'd bet." Connection begun. In Seattle, rain painted the city in longing. Solene waited in the wings of a community theater where Fire Chief John Vega gave safety talks between rehearsals. His fire station had become a second home. His injuries ran deeper than skin, but his humor shielded the grief. She posed as a graduate student writing about heroism. He was amused, intrigued. "You want to know what makes a hero?" he asked. "We're all afraid at times in our lives. Heroes are just the ones who didn't let fear stop them." Solene scribbled the quote, her heart oddly stirred. In Chicago, Preeta watched Detective Timothy Wells play chess with a retired judge in the park. He was a big man, quick to smile. His movements were graceful, measured, quiet. Once he saved a busload of children from 3 hostage-takers. He took 2 bullets for his heroics and walked himself to the ER. The trio of criminals rode to the morgue alone. She had no plan. She simply sat beside him. "Knight takes bishop," she said softly. The judge grumbled and tipped over his king in surrender. Then he rose, shook his head, and walked away, hissing, "Women." "Did I do something wrong?" Peeta asked. "It's considered bad etiquette to offer advice during a chess game, but so is tipping your king over in surrender. So I guess that makes you and the judge even," Timothy said. "Sorry, but I could see you already had that move in mind." Timothy's smile held curiosity. "You play?" "All the time, chess occasionally," she teased. In Jacksonville, Vexy lingered near the hangar where Air Force Captain Rafe Callan prepped a vintage aircraft for a charity air show. He was magnetic in motion, humble in speech. The plane was old, but he knew every inch. He noticed her immediately and asked her to hand him a wrench. She then helped him polish the fuselage, and her artificial limb clanged against the aircraft's metal. He quietly asked where she lost her leg. "In a place where, if you lose just a leg, you're one of the lucky ones." She didn't add any other explanation, and he didn't pry. There was real caring in his eyes. Her pulse quickened. Each pairing had begun. Not with deception, but with slow discovery, mutual curiosity, shared pain, hidden hope. And somewhere deep inside, each huntress wondered, could she still complete the assignment if her heart became the cost? Chapter 5. Contact. The scent of antiseptic lingered in the corridor as Dr. Edward Monroe placed a hand on the swing doors, pausing before entering the break room. Jana waited inside, clad in soft denim and a university badge clipped to her collar. She wasn't supposed to be there. Yet something about her presence drew no protest. "I haven't seen you here before," Edward said, soft smile tugging his lips. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" She met his gaze. "I came for the coffee. I stayed for the smell of cleaning supplies and disinfectants." His laugh was soft and genuine. Their eyes lingered. "Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" "Black, no sugar. If I'm reading you right, you like things simple." He blinked, amused. "Careful, I might start believing you're real." She smiled, heart stammering. In Austin, Tress joined Philip Anders on a walk through the Veterans Memorial Garden. The shadows of engraved names fell across their faces as they passed. "Ever wonder if survival was the real mistake?" Philip asked, like fate ran out of ideas. Tress stopped beside a bench, her fingers brushing the name of a soldier who died in Philip's arms. He was one of the ones the sergeant couldn't save. "Survival is only cruel when we stop living," she replied. He sat beside her, silence thick with understanding. "You talk like someone who's buried someone." "I have many someones," she said solemnly. "So, what makes you wake up in the morning?" She looked toward the horizon. "A promise I haven't kept yet." Rain draped the windows of the firehouse as John Vega handed Solene a blanket and a mug of cocoa. She shivered, not from cold, but from proximity. "Are you this nice to all your interviewers?" she teased. "Only the ones who don't ask weird questions," he grinned. "Weird how?" "Like, do you ever dream of fire?" That one stuck. She leaned forward. "Do you?" His jaw clenched. "Sometimes I can still smell it when I close my eyes." She touched his hand. "What do you do then?" "I find someone to talk to." He met her gaze. The blanket fell away. In Chicago, Timothy Wells invited Preeta to his niece's birthday party after 3 quiet park encounters. She watched him laugh with children, play music on his old guitar, and move with soft strength. 2 of the children's fathers asked the detective if he could fix traffic tickets. He said he couldn't, but if they ever murdered someone, he could talk to the DA about a plea deal. That night, as they walked home under lamplight, he asked, "You're not here for just chess and walks in the park, are you?" Preeta hesitated. "Number, I'm here to understand why someone like you jumps in front of bullets." He wasn't surprised she knew his history. Simple. All children deserve their tomorrows. She stopped walking. "Then maybe I'm here to protect those tomorrows too." Their hands brushed. He didn't pull away. At the airfield, Rafe handed Vexy a pair of aviation goggles. "I fixed the hydraulic drag," he said. "She flies smoother now. Want to join me on a test flight?" They took off into sunset, the cockpit alive with hum and adrenaline. Her heartbeat matched the engine's thrum. Above the clouds, he spoke. "I don't know what you're running from, but I hope it's not me." She swallowed. "I'm not running. I'm just discovering if I can stay." His hand found hers on the throttle. Each connection grew, fragile and powerful. The huntresses each felt something shift. The mission no longer lived on data pads and code. It breathed in stolen glances and truths shared in midnight cafes. And somewhere deep inside, 5 men, each heroic in different ways, sensed the women were more than strangers. They were new beginnings. Chapter 6. Conflict. The fog rolled in over Los Angeles as Edward Monroe stood outside his apartment balcony, cradling a cup of tea Jana had introduced him to. She sat beside him, her hair tangled by a restless night, her eyes distant. "Jana," he said, voice quiet, "I don't know who you were before we met, but you're in every thought I have now." She turned, unsure whether relief or panic gripped her heart. "You should know who I was," she replied, "because soon, who I am will decide everything." A beat passed. "Then show me," he whispered. She didn't answer. But she didn't leave. In Austin, Philip Anders sat across from Tress at a quiet diner filled with retro music and aged booths. He leaned back, studying her features, the precision of her speech, the way she calculated everything. "You're not just careful," he said. "You're trained." She froze. "Is that a bad thing?" He shrugged. "I've only seen that kind of tension in one kind of person, someone on a mission." Tress looked down, fingers brushing her coffee cup. "Would it change anything if I was?" Philip leaned in. "Only if your mission took you away from me." Solene woke in John's spare room, the echo of laughter from the night before still hanging in the air. He brought her toast, not questions, yet he watched her like someone trying to read the wind. "You speak in metaphors," he said, "like you've seen too many stories end badly." She hesitated. "We don't always get to write our own endings." He knelt beside her. "Then let's co-author one." Her eyes stung. That morning she didn't think of Darius. She thought of him. In Chicago, Preeta trained with Timothy in a community gym. Their movements were fluid, their banter playful. But under the surface, tension built. She could feel it rising, his suspicion, her guilt. After sparring, he sat beside her. "Are you scared of me?" he asked. "Never." "Then what are you scared of?" She swallowed. "That what we build here might be taken away, or stolen." He placed a towel over her shoulders. "Then leave it with me. I don't allow stealing. I protect what is." Her mask cracked just slightly. High above the earth, Vexy sat on a ridge overlooking the Atlantic, Rafe beside her. They'd flown there in his aircraft, no destination, just horizon. "You ever feel torn?" he asked. "Every second," she admitted. "Between what?" "Between my people and the person I'm becoming." He took her hand. "Then maybe your people need the person you're becoming more than they think." She stared at him, overwhelmed by the paradox, that the first man she ever loved might be the one she was sent to take. Back on Darius Prime, Magella's council monitors flickered. Earth transmissions showed progress, scans confirming physiological compatibility, physical attraction. But emotional unpredictability now rippled through the report. Some missions falter, not from failure, but some from choice. Chapter 7. Revelation. Jana stood in Edward Monroe's living room, her fingers tracing the rim of a teacup long since cooled. He paced, eyes flickering between confusion and betrayal, holding the tablet she'd finally unlocked for him. "So it's true," he said. "You're not from here, not even from this galaxy." She nodded, unable to speak. "And I'm... what, a trophy? A DNA sample?" "No," she stepped forward. "You're a legend. You're what our people stopped believing existed. You're hope." He dropped the tablet. "Then you came here as a thief, an abductor." Her breath caught. "I came here, and you changed me." His silence hurt more than anger. Philip Anders scanned the holographic scroll Tress projected across the veteran's center wall, maps of Darius Prime, extinction stats, genetic decay simulations, war records. He leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "You studied me. You knew about my failed mission, about my lost men." "We honored you," she said. "You embodied everything we'd forgotten." "Did you even consider asking?" Tress tried to answer, but every response felt like justification. "I didn't want to deceive you." "But you did. Every smile, every walk." She stepped closer. "Every moment was real?" He looked away. "Then I hate how easy you made me believe." John stared at Solene, now cloaked in faint biolight, her genetic disguise unraveled after days of stress. Her eyes shimmered violet. "So you're not human?" he asked, voice trembling. Number, but what I feel is human. She reached out, but he stepped back. You came to take me? Number, to allow you to choose. He sank into a chair. I spent years trying to matter, and now I find out I was targeted because I did. Solene knelt beside him. Because you matter to me, not just to my people. He stared at her, broken, unsure, torn. Then don't leave. She closed her eyes. That's the one thing I might not have any control over. Timothy Wells held Preeta's hand beneath a lamplight, his fingers trembling. You're not from here, but you see things like you've lived here forever. Preeta couldn't meet his gaze. I see pain. I know fear. Those are universal. He touched her cheek. You didn't just come to take something. You came to learn something. I came hoping to forget. He leaned in. Then remember me instead. Their kiss came slowly, not for thrill, but as an anchor. Rafe Callan stood beside the aircraft, hands on his hips as Vexy's ship shimmered out of stealth mode. The geometry was alien. His breath felt labored. I knew you were different, he said, but I didn't know you were this different. What am I? A mission? You're not a mission anymore, she said, voice cracking. You're the reason I don't believe in orders. He walked toward her, hesitant, his footsteps crunching gravel. Then do one thing for me. Anything. Don't make me fall for something that was never real. She stepped into his arms. Then let's write the real part together. Above Earth, encrypted transmissions from Darius buzzed urgently. One by one, the huntresses stopped responding. The mission was fracturing, not from resistance, but from love. Chapter 8. Divergence. The ocean murmured against California's shore as Jana sat beside Edward beneath the pier, moonlight painting shadows across their faces. He hadn't spoken in hours. She hadn't moved. So what now? He finally asked. Will they come for you? Yes, she replied, and for you if I let them. He stared out at the water. Then don't. She reached for his hand. I already didn't. In Austin, Tress turned down her relay implant for the first time since arriving. The silence was intoxicating. Her mission briefing faded from her memory like smoke from a battlefield. Philip found her at the local lake, skipping stones. I know what it's like, he said, to walk away from orders. But your orders were human. Mine came with extinction attached. He looked at her carefully. Maybe extinction isn't the enemy. Maybe it's becoming someone else. She let the stone fall from her hand. Then I'll become someone who chooses love first. Solene lay beneath a canopy of stars beside John Vega, her translator implant dimmed. He'd learned her language by ear, phonetically, imperfectly, beautifully. If you leave, I won't stop you, John whispered. I don't know if I can, she replied. But if you stay, it's not just your life you change, it's mine. She turned to him, tears catching moonlight. Then I'll stay, not because I should, but because you asked. Preeta typed a code into her communication band, initiating a mission pause. A message blinked. Compliance deferred. Consequences unknown. Timothy paced nearby, quietly protective. If they come, he said, they'll meet someone who's already fought for tomorrow. She stood up and faced him. We might not win. Then we build something worth defending. Their love-making that night was neither desperate nor fleeting. It was a vow. Vexy removed the override chip from her mechanical leg, disabling her remote locator. Her connection to Darius went dark. Rafe, standing behind her in the hangar, watched silently. You just sacrificed your tether, he said. She turned. I want to walk towards something, not away. He grinned softly and offered his hand. Then walk with me. She did. High Chancellor Magella stared at the failing mission logs. They chose connection, said Counselor Laura. They chose legacy, Magella corrected. So, we failed? Magella shook her head. We evolved. The huntresses had diverged, not from their people, but from a path built solely on desperation. By choosing love, they became architects of a new story, one with heroes not hunted, but found. Chapter 9. Reckoning. The night sky over Los Angeles flashed with silent thunder as Jana stared up from Edward's rooftop, watching unnatural stars shift position. She knew that pattern, scouting vessels, the quiet before extraction. Inside, Edward was packing, ready to run without asking where. That told her everything. If they land, he said, do you have to go? Not unless they force me. Then let's force them back. She placed her palm over his heart. This time, you protect yourself, and I'll fight for us both. In Austin, Philip's phone lit up with restricted alerts, satellites misbehaving, unknown energy sources pulsing outside government detection. Tress stood on the porch, watching the stars realign. They've sent someone. To take you? To punish me. Philip stepped beside her, shotgun slung loose across his shoulder. Not aggression, just history. Then they'll find out what surviving taught me. She didn't smile, she didn't cry, but her hand gripped his like someone clinging to the new shape of life. Celine awoke to John sliding a thumb drive into his laptop. Data scraped from her handheld implant, translating alien code into Earth syntax. Government flags blinked. They're watching, he said, but they're not who I'm worried about. She pulled the implant from behind her right ear and crushed it beneath a bookend. No more signals, just choices. He looked at her like someone realizing hope wasn't theoretical. Then stay, not as a guest, as someone worth protecting. My wife. Then love me without fear. He did. Prida sat on the rooftop with Timothy as helicopters scanned a nearby field. Suspicious reports, unexplained signals, flickers of something no protocol could explain. You should leave, Timothy said. That's the only thing I won't do. She showed him her last transmission, Darius's demand for extraction. They'll come for me. He looked at her closely. Then let them come, but they'll leave without you. You'd fight them? Yes, I'd hold on to what matters. She leaned her head against his shoulder, letting vulnerability live openly. In Jacksonville, Rafe spotted the shimmer of a scout pod along the airstrip edge. Vexy motioned him inside his hangar, setting a blast deterrent she hoped she'd never use. They came for me, she said. I'm not going with them. Then we take off, he said. There's sky enough for escape. Are you sure? You taught me how to stay steady in chaos. Let me teach you how to run. She kissed him as the engines warmed. Beyond Earth, Darius's High Council fractured. Magella stood alone, watching her agents rebel, not out of failure, but from feeling. Send no retaliation, she ordered. Let love decide its own gravity. Her command went unanswered, but she spoke it anyway. Chapter 10. Rebellion. The skies over Los Angeles buzzed with unmapped frequencies as Jana and Edward stood atop the hospital rooftop. Below them, sirens wailed, not in emergency, but in alert. A scout ship hovered in low orbit, cloaked and watching. Jana activated her neural scrambler, sending static across Darius's channel. They're listening, she said, but they won't hear what they expect. Edward stepped forward, holding a flare gun, primitive, symbolic. Then let's tell them what comes next. He fired into the night sky. One flare, one vow. In Austin, Tress and Philip stood before the city's Capitol building, where encrypted transmissions had triggered a quiet lockdown. Government agents had questions, satellites had theories. No one had truth. Tress uploaded the mission data to the world's cloud, transparent, irreversible. You're going public? Philip asked. They need to know we came in peace, and we chose love, not extraction. Philip held her hand, then let history say that two warriors fought for each other. The sky above them shimmered. The message was out. In Seattle, Solene sat beside John Vega in a high school auditorium, turned safe haven. Families gathered, waiting for something unnamed. She pulled out the Codex of Bloodlines and burned it in front of them all. Our legacy is not biology, she said. It's who we become when we're free to choose. John took her hand and stepped to the microphone. My name is John Vega, and I choose her. She will be my wife. Applause, scattered, grew louder. In Chicago, Preeta led Timothy to the lakefront, where a Dariusan scout hovered just above water, blinking in a hold pattern. They want confirmation, she said. Either I signal, or they take me. Timothy stepped in front of her. Then signal nothing. Together they stared into the ship's camera. Preeta spoke. I choose tomorrow. With him. The ship blinked. Then it vanished. In Jacksonville, Vexy and Rafe flew across the coastline, their transponder set to transmit one phrase. Love is not defection. The message reached satellites, Darius archives, even international air traffic channels. Think they'll understand? Rafe asked. They have to, Vexy replied. Because it's real, and we risked everything for it. Below them, streetlights flickered in Morse code. Someone on Earth was responding. Chapter 11. Resonance. The UN briefing room buzzed with excitement as the holographic message from Jana and Edward played on loop. We are not under invasion. We are being invited to evolve. Every chair was filled, but no one spoke. Across the globe, encrypted feeds shared fragments of truth. Alien visitors had arrived and fallen in love. In Austin, Tress met with local veterans on a public live stream. Her face uncovered, her identity revealed. My planet lost its men in war. You showed me that heroism isn't gendered. It's human. Philip Anders sat beside her, hands steady. We have enough reasons to fear. Let's give the world a reason to trust. Their broadcast rippled through military circles. The headline, Alien Defector and War Hero Declare Peace Pact of Two. In Seattle, schools paused classes for a citywide teach-in as Solene and John Vega stood in front of hundreds of students. I came looking for genetic salvation, she said. I found emotional resurrection. A student raised their hand. Are you staying? John smiled. She's rewriting her legacy here. So yes, she's staying. Preeta and Timothy met with local news outlets at a community center, surrounded by kids from the neighborhood. If aliens came here to steal, they'd have done it already, Timothy said. She came here to understand and stayed to belong. Preeta held his hand as cameras clicked. We're building something new, and new is always scary before it becomes home. Flying above international airspace, Vexy and Rafe live-streamed from their aircraft, answering questions from scientists, poets, and dreamers. You're fugitives now, one viewer said. No, Rafe replied. We're founders. Vexy added, this isn't an escape, it's an invitation. Back on Darius, High Chancellor Magella faced the remaining council. They disobeyed, one member said. They redefined, she replied. She initiated a new diplomatic channel, interstellar cultural exchange. Let them teach us, Magella whispered. We forgot how to feel. They remembered. As midnight approached on Earth, messages from Darius lit up encrypted satellite feeds. We hear you. You are not our target. You are our teachers. The world paused, and somewhere 5 couples looked at the sky, no longer watching for danger, but listening for dialogue. Epilogue. Continuance. Sunlight spread across the earth as if it had been waiting. Not a victory dawn, but a possibility. No sirens, no invasions. Just 5 extraordinary men and 5 remarkable women, redefining what connection could mean between worlds. In New York, with the world's leaders all in attendance, the 5 couples got married to the delight of the entire planet. The elaborate ceremony was not only broadcast on every television and radio on Earth, but it was also beamed across the galaxy. At the culmination of the vows, each groom kissed his new wife gently, but with enthusiasm. They reminded the crowd that tenderness was strength too. Later, they all met in a crowded hotel room to make their next plans. A reporter asked me if aliens cry, Timothy said. They do, Preeta replied, especially when they realize love wasn't our mission. It was an inevitability. They all laughed in understanding. Through their example, Darius Prime rebuilt slowly, not from ruins, but from choice. The Codex of Bloodlines became the Codex of Echoes, tracking not genes, but stories. High Chancellor Magella stepped down and became Earth's first ambassador. She told the assembly, "We thought we needed heroes. We needed listeners." The 5 huntresses and their husbands became cultural bridges, their names etched into both Darius in crystal and Earth's digital memory. An exchange system was established, whereby men who were vetted by the original 10 were sent to Darius Prime. In return, an equal number of Dariusan women were transported to Earth. The matchmaking went nova. In a galaxy once ravaged by extinction, love became the way. And among stars older than sorrow, 10 voices gave birth to a new beginning, the end.